41 years ago, Gurudas Prabhu dragged me onto a stage in Cross Maidan. Today, we have dragged him on a stage in Cross Maidan.
Your love humbles me. Chanakya Pandit said, if you walk 7 steps with someone, you're friends forever. Radhanath Maharaj and I have walked 7,000 steps together. By Krishna's grace, we have been reunited all around the world. I think I might have seen him in Vrindavan because we had the same friends. We had a friend, Shripad, who could appear and disappear at will. Sometimes he would just pop up behind me and give me a hug and then disappear. So many, our paths were crossed even before Cross Maidan. I saw him in New Vrindavan giving a speech about Mother's Day, and he, a sannyasi, was empathizing what it's like to be a mother with unrewarded. You're just unrewarded, and you're putting up, and you're compassionate, and you're forgiving. He's never been a mother, but he knew what a mother's like. That's because he can see into the heart of all of us. Then he was in Berkeley, San Jose, especially when we were together in England. Jamuna, Malati, Samashinda, Radhanath Swami, Gurudas, talking about the days in London. One of the qualities of Krishna is speaking pleasing words. He's always speaking pleasing words. I've never heard him not speak pleasing words. But he's also true. So he said, Samashinda can build anything, Gurudas can't build anything, but he sure can talk. And then in Vrindavan, at the wedding of Yadavar and Vishaka, he said, I was sitting behind you. If I only knew what this brahmachari sitting behind me would become. So the lesson is, we should never take any of us for granted. Each and every one of you must help one another to be Krishna conscious. We're in this together. That's how we can please Prabhupada. And this does not happen in all parts of the world. Some of the Temples in America take Krishna consciousness for granted. 40 years, everything's there. When we started, there were no books, no mridangas, no kartals, no dhotis, no saris, no back to Godhead. But we had each other, we're family, and we grew, and we didn't take it for granted, and we were creative. And as Maharaj said, unorthodox. Samashunda, a visionary, we wouldn't have been able to do what we did if we were orthodox. Sometimes it is easier to ask forgiveness than permission. So he said, I was behind you in Vrindavan. So I don't want to forget any of you. One of the wonderful things about Prabhupada's family is it grows and it grows, and you meet new people. Joyce and Holly and Meg and Larry. Larry, you should meet. She's a great uke player. Maybe you could jam together. And Larry, a new friend. And Gary, finally we got to talk. He didn't know I was the guy that pulled Radhanath out of the crowd. Krishna Chanda. What an example of a wonderful devotee like George Harrison. He could just have everything he wants in the material world. Most people, when they're rich, what they lack is power. That's why they go into politics. When I first came here, he himself picked me up at the airport in the middle of the night. He called the other day to see, he called 2 times to see how I was doing. Before the wedding, planning for the wedding, he had the time to call me. Nathji, testing Prabhupada, wonderful sense of humor. This family has grown. Radhanath's father, I see where Radhanath gets many of his qualities. Courage, able to bounce back from nothing, a great guy, socializing, knowing how to please everybody. His array of characters in the world would make anyone say, wow, how does this man know this man, this man, this girl, this girl? It's because he's attracted so many people by who he is. And he had the good heart to endure his son not writing for months and then writing, well, I'm living in a cave, or I'm sitting on a rock in the middle of the Ganges River. That's not really good news to the normal father. Just like I said to my father, empty bowl makes the most sound, full bowl is silent. And my father said, that's what I sent you to college for? So like, Radhanath is like tantamount to Krishna and the gopis because he pleases every one of us. And he remembers all your names. Well, okay. Like Gaura Das Babaji, he's renowned. He's renounced. He lived in a cave too. He's taking on the responsibility of all of you. So don't let him down. To be a spiritual master is a great responsibility. And he does it with such facility and ease. I know what the schedule is like. You have to bless babies, you have to give all the classes, you have to meet all these men and change their minds by your beauty. People who are adversarial, they come and he changes their minds. And like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he can dispense cases in 7 minutes. And like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he's a living encyclopedia. You should have seen him yesterday at the Gadya Mat. He inspired them because he was quoting in Bengali and all the proper shlokas. Now this was a historical event because just some years ago, they thought we were barbarians. They wouldn't invite us to speak at any events. It was a cordial coexistence. Of course, they always wanted Ananda cook to cook for them on high holy days. I was friends with Sar Maharaj and Sridhar and many of them, but I'm just saying it was a very historical event that at this point they asked Radhanath Swami to speak as keynote speaker, and he had to speak as governor too, because the governor had to go to a funeral. So it was very historical, and Prabhupada, he told me in confidence in Mayapur, my godbrothers don't have the intelligence, enthusiasm, or will to attract Western disciples like you. I thought, yes, I met Sar Maharaj, I met them. No, they didn't have the intelligence, the will, or the enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is the backbone of Krishna consciousness. And I don't know if Prabhupada did this on purpose, but he sent me to get something from one of his godbrothers in Mayapur a little way, and that godbrother had as much personality as a towel. I think Prabhupada did that just to, emphasize his point. So it was a historic event. And as usual, Radhanath Swami charmed everyone. And like Prabhupada, you're carrying on his mission in such a nice way. I was saying in the States, some of the temples take this for granted. I was just in the Czech Republic. They don't take it for granted. They were under a communist regime not too long ago. They're enthusiastic and they're hungry for Krishna and creative. They even made the Iwo Jima flag for me when we were addressing 10,000 people at the Czech Roadstock. Because I was American, they took the Krishna conscious flag and with the Marines on the hill in Iwo Jima. They were having fun. And the first violinist and first trumpet of the Prague Symphony are devotees, and they just want to go on Padayatra. So what I'm saying is this is wonderfully encouraging to see such a yatra of love. And not only love, but determination to be wonderful devotees. Nobody wastes time. Everything is scheduled in the farm. So you don't sit around and gossip. And I was at the farm, and I said, well, you know, why don't you do this? And they said, oh, Radhanath already thought of that. I said, well, why not you do this? They said, Radhanath thought of that. And I said, of course he did. He's so innovative, like his father. He brings out the best in all of us by giving us his best. One time he delayed his trip to have a day with me in San Francisco. We walked around Stowe Lake where Prabhupada walked. Stowe Lake is where I really fell in love with Prabhupada. We're walking down Stowe Lake and there's some ducks by the lake. And so even then, in the beginning, there was a devotee who was arrogant. And he said, get out of the way, ducks. The Swami's coming. And the ducks went, and they're getting up in the morning. And Prabhupada is saying, as you are thinking the ducks are disturbing us, they are thinking we are disturbing them. So Prabhupada can see into the heart of everyone. And so, while I'm on the subject of Prabhupada, I have some Bombay stories. Sometimes I would peek in to Prabhupada's rooms. When I was his assistant. One day, he was actually having a conversation with Krishna. Another day, he was eating Bombay chavda, you know, that savory, coconut and peanuts and chickpeas, and there's different kinds, and Prabhupada liked it. One day, a group of Mayavadis came, and they gave Prabhupada their books. They were about this thin, and Prabhupada very graciously took the books. And they were happy. He was so cordial. Just like our Radhanath, just like his father, cordial. They were satisfied, they left. Prabhupada hands us each one of those books. What? Our whole training is to be against, maybe he wanted me to learn Mayavadi so I can defeat them. I don't know, why is Prabhupada? Then he takes out the Bombay, and there's 5 of us. He takes out the Bombay chavda and he puts it on the book. He used them as plates. One day he and Kartikeya Mahadevya were on the beach. He served wonderfully in the beginning. So many, Sadaji Whitlaw. So he said to Prabhupada, I'm not afraid of death, but I'm afraid for my family. Prabhupada said, then you're still afraid of death. Lessons, then you're still afraid of death. We were on television together in London, Prabhupada and I, and now we're in Bombay in this doctor's clinic, and he says, oh, I saw you on television, and now you're in my clinic. Swamiji, isn't it a small world? Prabhupada said, yes, it's insignificant. And then the biggest lesson to me was when he asked me to register the society. I'll make it short. I'll do the abbreviated version. We had all the aims and objects. One of the lines was, the founder Acharya shall be A.C. Bhaktivedanta-Svamin Prabhupada. The next line, it said, the founder Acharya shall have full veto power. because I left out his name, he said, "Who is founder Acharya? You? Brahmananda?" Brahmananda got zapped 3,000 miles away. Must get this changed. It was the weekend. He gave me the silent treatment. I don't know if you know what the silent treatment is. It's like when a wife or husband is angry at each other, they won't talk to one another. Just the day before, he welcomed me into his room. We're together like always. Now he's not talking to me. I even got behind the wall. He was walking down the hall, and I went like that, and he still... He walked right by. So, on Monday, I went to this clerk who thought he was a demigod. He wanted bakshish. I never gave out bakshish in India. I'd always, quotes, you want to put cement in a movie theater when we're building a temple, etc., etc. So, this man wanted bakshish. Oh, it can't be done. I had the board of directors, I got them together. We had to make an amendment, Mr. Somania and others. So we made the amendment, so I had it there, and the clerk says, no, it can't be done. So I said, we're having a press conference tonight with the head of the CID, Mr. Kane, and all the press will be there, so should I say that you don't know the law, you want a bribe, or you're fool number one? And then just to put the American twist on it, I banged his desk. I will sign. So Radhanath has courage of his convictions. And we all love him, but don't imitate. Even St. Aquinas said, don't imitate Christ, emulate. Don't imitate, emulate. All the qualities that you like, try to do that yourself. Just if you have the service attitude or the friendship attitude and trying to see the good of everybody else, he constantly talks about giving everything to Krishna, reminding us not to be selfish, talking about how our minds are chanchala. And he says it so beautifully. At the wedding, he talked about two rivers coming together. Two rivers, Jamuna and Ganges. How poetic. And at the Gadadhara, he talked about the duality of the deer and the tiger, and how Lord Chaitanya charmed them in the Jharkhand forest, which was analogous to us cooperating with the Gadadhara. So he did it. Did you know that? Well, see, but he did it. Krishna's through him. Oh. And Krishna's obviously protected him. I mean, the journey home, all those things that he got out of, and even in New Vrindavan, he told us how, I just heard it. We were in India or London or someplace. We just heard that there was an attack, but we didn't know the details. But he could have been killed very easily. They were shooting, they were attacking with guns. He was 5 feet away. Krishna protected him. It's obvious. And Krishna works in strange ways. He doesn't like No, it's the other story he doesn't like me to tell, I think. But he was a champion wrestler, and the whole town wanted him to continue wrestling. And they blamed it on Gary. They blamed it on Gary for taking away. They're starting to be spiritual people. And, you know, what do you want to wrestle with somebody for? What a frivolous thing. Frivolous sport. I asked Prabhupada in Gorakhpur, did you ever play sports? And he said, yes. I was captain of the debating team. So they blamed it on Gary. The whole town wanted him to wrestle. By peer pressure, he was forced into doing it, and Krishna dislocated his shoulder. Strange ways, and now he's there. And another time he defeated a Christian. Another time he defeated this sports person who was very agile and trained. And just by determination, Radhanath was able to defeat him. And the room was very hot. I guess he was getting ready for Bombay. Push-ups and jumping jacks and sit-ups. If you want, he might not tell you the story. He doesn't. So, because he's carrying on Prabhupada's mission, we can't not let him down. And each and every one of you can't let each and every one of you down. I want to see you succeed. You want to see me succeed. That's Krishna consciousness. He's become one of my best friends, advisors, and inspirations, mentor. Just a brahmachari sitting behind me at the wedding. All the religions, Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, whatever, it all boils down to love and compassion. All of them. So, this is Radhanath, and words cannot convey how much I love you. Thank you very much.